Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Miss Grace, and this is the grammar part of the Day 11 part of the remote learning packet. This one's going to be a little bit long, only because it has a lot of parts to it. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is we are working with quotation marks with direct speech. Okay, so this is if your character is talking. All right, so quotation marks are used to show the exact words someone says. All right, I want you to box that out. These are the exact words. So it's almost like this. If we were using speech bubbles, there would be somebody here who said, "We got library cards." Okay, this is what exactly is coming out of your character's mouth. The first word of a quotation is capitalized. The punctuation at the end of the quotation goes inside the quotation marks. So everybody please box that out, inside the quotation marks. A comma sets off the words a person says from the words that tell who is speaking. Technically, that's what's known as an identifier, so you'll hear me use that word a lot. All right, so our example here, there's Mario. These are the words that came out of his mouth. We got library cards. This is what it would look like in print. Mario said, notice the comma, open quotes. We got library cards, period, close quotes. So do you see that order? So here's your identifier. Mario said, comma, open quotes. We got library cards, period, close quotes. So that period goes inside the closed quotes. All right, so be aware of that. Now, if we flip the identifier from the front to the back, Mario said, we make a subtle change. In fact, they don't even address it up at the top, so be careful of this. We open the quotes, capital, we got library cards, comma, close the quotes. Mario said, then period. This one's a little bit more complicated because you have to remember to take the punctuation from a period to a comma. Now, why they do this, I don't know, because if we were changing that punctuation, like Mario was all excited and we're going to have an exclamation point there, we would say, we got library cards, and the exclamation would go right there. You would not use another comma. All right. If Mario was confused, he wasn't paying attention that day, and he was asking a question about something, we got library cards? The question mark would go right there, and we would not use this comma. It's only if it's a direct sentence, a plain sentence, do we change that period to a comma. Again, this is why English language learners cry, because this makes no sense. All right, so be aware of how this goes. Notice the capitals here and here, okay, as soon as we opened up those quotes. Notice that Mario, because this is a proper noun, this gets a capital. So let's take a look at some stuff. And if you want to stop the video and draw your own Mario, that's fine. We got library cards, period. But remember, if he was showing excitement, this would be an exclamation point. We got library cards, exclamation point. If he was confused and asking for information, we got library cards, question mark. Okay, so just be aware of that. All right, so next page. All right, this is a conversation between a couple of different characters. So we have Charlotte here. I love to read new books. Notice the period there. Notice the capital there. Gus replies, what are your favorite books? Question mark. He's asking for information. Then Lena says, well, I like to go to the bookstore. It's a statement. So again, we have that period right there, capital right there. There's Lena. And then we have Pat says, I think I'll get a new picture book. It's a statement, so it just takes a period. And this is So, and a capital there. Now remember, this is what is coming out of your character's mouth. So we have Charlotte, I love to read new books. Gus, what are your favorite books? Lena, well, I like to go to the bookstore. Pat, I think I'll get a new picture book. So remember, these are the words that came out of their mouth. This is if you had a speech bubble above your head, this is what it would look like. Now, in print, this is what it would look like. All right? I love to read new books, said Charlotte. So I open up my quotes. You know how I like to use this, like the quotes look like little sixes so that I remember to make them look like quotation marks? So there's my open quotes. I start with a capital right here. So I'm going to mark it as a capital, 3 lines underneath. I love to read new books. Now, because it is a statement, in the speech bubble, we had a period. But in the print, we changed that to a comma. Look how low that comma is. And remember, I put a little arrow thing right there to show to me that this is a comma. Then I close the quotes. I use it like they're 9s, okay? I make them look like they're little tiny 9s. Said Charlotte, and then we have a period there. So, open quotes, capital, I love to read new books, comma, close quotes, said Charlotte, period. So notice how I fit my punctuation inside those quotation marks. Now let's look at a question, which is a little bit different. What are your favorite books? Asked Gus. Now, if we were doing cartoons, this is what it would look like. What are your favorite books? There would be the question, and there's Gus. This is exactly what came out of his mouth. All right, so we are going to open up our quotes. Remember, I like to make them look like 6s because 6s comes before 9s. I make sure this is a capital. It is. What are your favorite books? Now I'm going to put my question mark right there, close my quotes, which I make them look like 9s, asked Gus, then period. So my question mark's a little bit wonky, so let me fix that. Okay, so there's my question mark. What are your favorite books? Asked Gus. All right, so that's how that would work. So you notice, again, the question mark goes on the inside of the quotation, but I don't use a comma here. All right, next one. So this is Lena. This is what exactly came out of her mouth. Well, I like to go to the bookstore. Period there. Well, I like to go to the bookstore, Lena replied. So again, we open up those quotes. So you should be marking this on your paper as I'm doing it. Make sure this is a capital. It is. Well, I like to go to the bookstore. And because it's a period, we change it to a comma. Okay? And then we close those quotes. We use the 9s. Lena replied, and there is a period at the end. Okay, again, you're going to follow along with me here. Pat says, this is what came out of Pat's mouth, I think I'll get a new picture book. I think I'll get a new picture book, announced Pat. All right, so, again, we open up those quotes. We make sure this is a capital. I think I'll get a new picture book, announced Pat. Now, if we wanted to do this a little bit different, we could say, because they're using the word announce, we could change this to a exclamation point. I think I'll get a new picture book. And we'll show some excitement there. So let's try this. Again, open quotes, make sure it's a capital. I think I'll get a new picture book. Exclamation point. Close those quotes. Announce Pat, and I do have a period at the end. All right, so there's a couple different ways of doing this. This is the most straightforward way of making a quote. It's very, very straightforward. So there's another one that's pretty straightforward, and then later on in the packet, we'll be doing one that's complicated. But if you start with your identifier or end with your identifier, these tend to be pretty straightforward. All right, so now let's take a look at the page that you're going to be doing on your own. Oh, and if you want to stop the video and draw out your cartoon like I did so that you understand exactly what is coming out of your character's mouth, that's fine. Go ahead. Stop the video and have a little bit of fun. All right, so now on the practice page, Okay, so we have to write each sentence correctly, and yes, you have to write out the sentence. So it said, summer vacation is almost here, said Juan. Now, if it had said exclaimed Juan or yelled Juan, I would have changed it to a period, but it's not. It just says said. So this is how I did it. I opened my quote. I made sure I had a capital. Summer vacation is almost here. And because my character would have been saying it, I put a comma here, close my quotes, said Juan, and then I made sure I have a period there. So that's what this collection of words should look like when it is done correctly. All right, now, here we have the identifier on the front. This is really easy. This is pretty straightforward. Sarah said, it's going to be great sleeping late in the morning. Okay, so we put our identifier, Sarah said, comma, notice what I did there, okay, open my quotes, capital here, it's my first word out of the sentence, whatever came out of Sarah's mouth, my character Sarah. So I make sure this is a capital. It's going to be great sleeping late in the morning. Then I put my period, and then I close my quotes. All right? So this is really straightforward. This is pretty straightforward. Make sure that you understand this, because the next thing that when we do the split quotes, those are not easy. Those are a bear. So just make sure that you have this down, because this is probably what you're going to use 90% of the time. Identifier in the back or an identifier in the front. All right. So the next three are all yours. Good luck.